We nearly got a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie. What the hell would have that look like?
When I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV. I'm Movie Channel. There have been plans since 2016 for another Star Trek movie. Before Star Trek Beyond was released, in fact, it was announced that Bad Robot and Skydance were going to continue in the collaboration and bring Star Trek back once more. Now, Star Trek Beyond didn't do great at the box office, it's fair to say, and those plans stuttered. But what would we have got, and why didn't it happen? Well, recently in an interview, Mark L. Smith, the guy that wrote the script for Star Trek 4, has been talking about what he hoped he was going to see and why it didn't happen, or at least one of the main reasons why. Quentin Tarantino was going to direct this, and he was going to Quentin Tarantino it. According to Mark L. Smith, Quentin Tarantino did agree to come on as the director, but his only proviso was that it would have to be an R rating, or for the English, an 18. Mark L. Smith talks about how this project would have been a hard R rating as well. He talked about Pulp Fiction style violence, and he said that it would have been an absolute game changer for the Star Trek franchise. He very modestly says, not because of his writing, but because of what Quentin Tarantino was planning to do with it. Now, Quentin Tarantino is obviously famous for his movies like Pulp Fiction, but for me, I remember the CSI episodes he directed and what he brought to that. Those were insanely good episodes of television. Some of the best CSI episodes ever made, and actually, to be fair, some of the best television ever made. Mark L. Smith talks about how Tarantino would have brought similar energy to the Star Trek franchise, and it would have been a game changer. He talks about how Tarantino would have completely changed Star Trek forever. He actually referenced Thor Ragnarok as an example. How when Taika Waititi came in and put a bit of Taika on the Marvel Universe, it completely changed the future. It was the standout Marvel movie, and for me, probably the best Marvel movie they ever did. It's probably my favourite. Star Trek, you could argue, is stagnating a little bit at the moment. The movie's 100% stagnated. They redid The Wrath of Khan, in a way. Don't know what they were quite doing with Star Trek Beyond, but, it was an okay film, but... And for me, the movie franchise is desperately needed shaking up. We needed Tarantino for this, and if we'd have got it, I think it would have completely reinvigorated the Star Trek franchise. I think a lot of Star Trek fans are a little bit irritated by the current Kurtzman Star Trek, and having J.J. Abrams anywhere bloody near it is a little bit of a concern. But having Skydance and Bad Robot involved in this, when Tarantino would be in charge, now I don't think that would have been a problem at all. It would have been a full-out, balls-out Star Trek movie. So why didn't it happen? Well, Mark actually talked in this Collider interview about how Tarantino couldn't quite get his head around the idea that a Star Trek film could be his last movie. That he doesn't expect to do more than a couple of projects now, and he's basically already thinking about his retirement. And he couldn't get over this hump in the road of, what if that's my last film? He never could quite get over that, and that's one of the main reasons why the project kind of fizzled out. Now, I think we can argue that maybe the whole thing with the massive flop of Star Trek Beyond was also a problem. But to be honest, if Quentin Tarantino had put his name on a new project and that had actually got the executives excited enough, I think they'd have gone for it. Now, when I first heard that Quentin Tarantino was thinking about doing a Star Trek movie, I couldn't get my head around that at all. I was thinking about Samuel L. Jackson in a Star Trek uniform, and yeah, no, it didn't work for me. But in hindsight, looking back on it, I can't help but think how desperately the franchise needs this. It needs that kick up the arse. It needs completely fresh thinking. And I think Mark L. Smith, when he mentions Ragnarok, has banged that nail square on the head, because actually that is what we need. We need that shock. We need to go to a Star Trek movie and come out afterwards going, well, that's not what we're used to. That was completely mental. We need to have some Tarantino moments that we will then remember. Because that is one of the problems with Star Trek, and I would argue also with Star Wars, that there are no iconic moments anymore. Star Trek Into Darkness was supposed to bring us some of those iconic moments. The whole reason why they hired Benedict Cumberbatch was because they wanted a heavyweight actor to deliver those lines like, Khan! And it didn't work. I would actually argue that not only are there no iconic moments in New Trek, and I'm going to include the TV series there as well, they even struggle with having just memorable moments. If you actually think about the original movies, there are moments like, come on, and the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. There are these moments in all of those Star Trek movies, like when they released the whales out into the river, etc., that were properly iconic, that even people that don't necessarily love sci-fi remember. And I think Quentin Tarantino would have brought us some of those iconic moments. So I cannot help but look back on this now with a little bit of sadness. We really, really needed a Quentin Tarantino movie. We really, really needed somebody brave enough to kick in the doors at Bad Robot and go, this is the film that we need. We don't need all your lens flares. We don't need this storyline. What we need is something that fans are going to go nuts over. Sci-fi fans quite like a bit of violence. We like those moments that shock us sometimes. We like to have a movie that forces us to think. We want something in Star Trek at the moment that's going to shock us. We need it. And if Quentin Tarantino isn't going to do it, who will? So, this is unfortunately a sad video. It's a video about a possibility that was missed out on. But if Paramount have got any sense at all, they will get rid of Kurtzman, who has not been directing this ship the way we want it to go. And they will get in some new, brave creators, fans of Star Trek, fans of sci-fi, fans that are willing to kick those doors in and do something that will shock us. Because the Star Trek franchise, for me, desperately needs it. But guys, what do you think? Get into the comments. Does Star Trek feel like it needs a kick up the arse? And I'm going to throw Star Wars into this as well. Are these the two real juggernauts of sci-fi floundering a bit at the moment? They seem to be too scared to rock the boat. There's a lot of boat metaphors in this episode. They seem to be too scared to upset people, even though they are quite willing to do musicals that upset the crap out of me. So what do they need? Do they need a kick up the arse? Do they need something that is completely different? Get into the comments and tell me what you think. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/SciTrek, where most of our new videos premiere first, so you'll get to see them before everyone else. Also, there's SciTrek.co.uk, which is our dedicated website where we do articles based on most of our videos. Go check that out too. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.